Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Summer's Minis. Today I'm going to be painting a 54mm miniature from Labyrinth Models. Before I get too far into the video today, I would really appreciate it if you liked this video and if you subscribe to my channel to keep up to date on what I'm doing on YouTube. So I'm really excited to be doing this video. This will be the first of a series that I'm going to do with this particular model. Typically I paint smaller miniatures, 28 to 32 millimeters, and I feel that I don't get a chance to really show you my entire painting process. Sometimes it's time related, sometimes it's my hands are in the way and the miniature is too small. And this is why I chose a 54mm miniature for this series. So what we're going to be doing today is painting the red cloth, and the red cloth only. So I will be dealing with the leathers and the metals and the skin, with the exception of the shadowed color that I used to reference how the red would look on the model. As such, we're going to start off by painting the shadowed color of the cloth, and we're going to start off with a color that I did not end up using, which is a mixture of Army Painter's Chaos Red and Army Painter's Alien Purple mixed in a 1:1 ratio. What I found after I had mixed this is that while wet the color looked dark, when it dried it turned out to be a very light magenta, and it did not really provide a shadowed look when I started to reapply just Army Painter Chaos Red to the model as the base layer. So what I'm doing here, as you can see, is applying that original mixture that I talked about, the Army Painter Chaos Red and the Army Painter Alien Purple. I went back and I fixed this particular issue, but I did not, unfortunately, film any of that process. The color that I ended up using instead of the Army Painter Chaos Red and the Army Painter Alien Purple was a mixture of Army Painter Chaos Red and Army Painter Dark Sky, which is a very dark blue. And that ratio was a 2:1 ratio, the 2 parts Chaos Red and 1 part Dark Sky. This mixture provided the dark, almost purplish hue that I was looking for in the first place, and was a good contrast for the Chaos Red base layer that I would be doing here in the future. After I applied the shadowed color on the cloth, I applied what I call the rule of 2 on each of the subsequent layers. So when I applied the base layer of Chaos Red, I applied a layer, allowed it to dry completely, and then reapplied a second layer over the areas I had just painted. I did this with every step of the way afterwards, so each layer of highlight had 2 layers applied. I applied one, allowed it to dry, and then applied another over the same region. As you can see in the video, the areas that were supposed to be shadow turned out to be a magenta color. And once I started to apply Chaos Red to this, I noticed that the Chaos Red was much darker than my shadow color. And I knew I needed to change it. But I kept this portion of the video so that you can see me doing what I talked about here previously just a few moments ago, about applying a layer, allowing it to dry, and then reapplying over top that layer. So I'm just going to let this run so you can see my process. I'm basically just following the folds and the raised regions of the cloth and applying Chaos Red to it so I can get that base layer started. And also you'll see I do this in the hip region where the light hits the cloth more, and then as the hips are kind of indented towards the front, she has this weird kind of stand hunched pose. I leave it darker. So I'm going to let this go ahead and play, kind of watch and enjoy, and I will be back in a few moments. Okay, and it's at this point that I have made some adjustments to the color. You can see that the shadowed regions look much darker. I've applied that mixture of Chaos Red and Dark Sky together into the shadowed regions. And now what I'm doing is going through and starting to do my first highlight after applying the Chaos Red by itself. So at this point, I am starting to apply a mixture of Army Painter Chaos Red mixed with Army Painter Dragon Red in a 2-to-1 ratio. So it's going to be 2 parts Chaos Red to 1 part Dragon Red. And I'm just going to go ahead and start to apply this to all the raised portions of the folds and to where the light would hit on the hips. The next highlight that I would provide would be a mixture of, again, Chaos Red and Dragon Red, but the ratio at this point would be a 1-to-1 ratio. Now at this point you should see on my brush the color of the red should appear to be brighter. Don't be fooled. So once this dries, this will dry darker and provide a much more subtle highlight than one would think given the color on the brush. Again, just kind of follow the same process. You're going to go through and you're going to highlight all the areas that you highlighted before, but you're just going to make each stage just a little bit smaller. And it's a lot easier to do that when you have a larger model like this compared to a 28 or 32 millimeter. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about something I feel doesn't get addressed enough when people make painting videos. It's okay to make mistakes. It's just paint. Everything can be fixed. So what I'm doing here is I felt that I went a little too far with the 1-to-1 ratio and went back to my 2-to-1 ratio and was just making some adjustments to give a much more subtle look. Not that it was extreme, but I could tell the difference and I felt that it had gone too far. So I just going back and fixing some things. That's okay. It's okay to do. There's no such thing as a mistake. Just happy little accidents. Just do what you need to do and go back to it. So here I am going to my next stage, which is pure Dragon Red. And I'm going to go through and I'm going to go and provide all my next stage highlights here. So we're just going to go through, make smaller highlights, adjust things. Maybe I felt like something needed to be highlighted more after the last stage just because I went a little too far the other direction. All these things are things that you do when you paint models. You make adjustments all the time. There is never it's one and done. So if you feel like something is not right, just go ahead and reapply, move on, and adjust as you need to. And so we're moving on to the next highlighting stage. So this stage is a mixture of Army Painter Dragon Red and Army Painter Pure Red. This ratio was a 1-to-1 ratio, as the two colors are fairly close to each other. The Pure Red is slightly brighter than the Army Painter Dragon Red, and again, I'm just going through and providing smaller and smaller highlights to regions that I want to be bright. So go ahead and watch this process, and when we get to the last stage, I'll let you know. It's also at this stage, towards the end of the whole process, that I start to do some texture work. The texture work being like little hashtags, little lines, little dots here and there. Cloth is not generally 100% smooth, so having a little texture is never a bad idea. And this is the final highlight that I'm going to do for this red cloth. This color is the Pure Red from Army Painter. I'm just going through and I'm going to be applying it in a smaller region, and I'm also going to be doing like what I was doing a little bit earlier, like some stippling, some lines, some hash marks, just to provide a little bit of texture, a little bit of roughness to the surface. I will not be providing a turntable for this particular model at this time. It's not done. There's still a lot left to do with it, and I'm really excited to go ahead and do the next step for you guys, which will be the tassels and the leathers on this model. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it's helpful to be able to see things on a larger scale, to see what I'm doing. I also wanted to go ahead and let you know that I have named this model. Her name is Bennu. She is a member of the Sehkmet Huntresses from Labyrinth Models range in the land of Kemet. Please enjoy. Please give me a like and subscribe if you like what I'm doing here. I really look forward to sharing what I do with you guys. Thank you for taking the time to watch. I appreciate you, and I hope you come back and watch more videos. Thank you very much. All right, bye.